In the past year, Andrew Tate has become a controversial figure with his provocative remarks and red pill philosophy.
Females are barely sentient.
Tate was also recently arrested for sex trafficking, the details of which will be discovered as time unfolds. When people are discussing Tate or the red pill, I typically see one of two points of view. Feminists are outraged by his existence, claiming he is a misogynist who enforces norms of the patriarchy. Others see him as a role model to young men who are frustrated in today's fast-paced, superficial dating arena. However, I would like to provide some new perspective that may be of use for those of you who subscribe to either perspective. What do we make of the red pill? Where is the red pill correct? Where are they wrong? What are young men to do moving forward? Typically, the conversation is clouded by ideology. The red pill argues that modern feminism has ruined dating and relationships for men. The court system is against men, destroying their lives when they get divorced. Dating apps make it impossible for average guys to get a date compared to quote-unquote high-status males. In today's society, it is incredibly difficult for average guys to meet a decent woman, get married, and have a family like previous generations did. If men wish to have a partner, they need to meet certain financial, physical, and mental standards to have a fighting chance in the dating arena. Someone who is red-pilled sees these dynamics in society and improves oneself consciously to increase the chances of finding a partner. In contrast, the blue-pilled are those who do not share their point of view, i.e. beta males, feminists, progressives, etc. Although entire volumes can be written about the red pill, this is a broad overview of the red pill philosophy and has variants such as the black pill. The black pill and incel variety attribute sexual inequality to the shape of your face. There are even forums of such individuals complaining about how their lack of dating prospects is due entirely to their looks.
Look what happened with Nixon. No one wanted to fuck him, so he fucked everyone.
Let's examine some of these claims commonly made by the red pill community, so we can have an understanding of their perspective. Has feminism gone too far? Some of their rhetoric certainly goes a bit far at times. Society is not a patriarchy. You are not oppressed. Conversely, society is not a matriarchy either. You are not oppressed. Due to our technological progress, intellectual labor is valued more than physical labor, which was a biological barrier for women in the past. It should be of no surprise that feminism emerged when it was technologically possible. For instance, the second-wave feminist movement happened after the invention of the birth control pill. Thus, women could have sex with whoever or whenever they wanted, and still have a career. The rigid, traditional culture of the time evolved, or devolved depending on who you ask, into a more individualistic, self-centered culture of the 1960s. And that's not a value judgment, but an observation of trends. Today, more women graduate from college than men, and thus are able to financially provide for themselves. According to the red pill worldview, and some reports of women as well, women find this dissatisfying because their biology is wired to find a man who has more status than they do. So let's examine status, a key pillar of the red pill philosophy. There was a video by Courtney Ryan that went viral, where young women were interviewed about what their ideal partner would be, to which many of them said that they want a man who would make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. Predictably, in the manosphere, this generated outrage, because only a small percentage of men actually make that kind of money, especially if they're 25 years old or younger. These clips vindicate the red pill's view that modern women are unrealistic gold diggers, and that today's men are screwed. However, what isn't taken into account is that this entire scenario is based on their ideal partner. Just because these women say that they want someone who makes $300,000 a year doesn't mean that that's who they're actually going to be with. Imagine if young men were asked what they would want for an ideal partner. I can say that I want Mila Jovovich in her prime all I want, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen, or that's what all, or even the majority, of young men want. I guess I'll settle for Emma Stone in La La Land. Young men would say that they want someone hot, with nice proportions and features, favorite eye color, hair color, etc. To which feminists would be outraged and claim that this is evidence for men's objectification of women. Most guys are not likely to select a woman based on their favorite nonfiction books like I do.
I want one of them readers, that's what I want.
Perhaps there is some truth to both scenarios. There are traits desirable to both sexes, but that doesn't mean they are all that matters. Andrew Tate claims that acquiring status is the key to exiting the misery of the current dating matrix. Tate also behaves in a very cocky, arrogant manner. This leaves an impression, especially on his younger viewers, who haven't had as much life experience, that being cocky and bragging about your accomplishments is seductive. The problem with Tate's philosophy is that it's misleading. From the surface, it seems like a woman can be attracted to a guy for his looks or status. Status and looks matter, sure, but we have to consider other qualities as well. In America, we live in a highly rugged, individualistic culture. We champion those who work 140-hour work weeks and accomplish what others said was impossible. There are some incredible things that come from this mindset. However, a real leader is not someone who goes around and says that they are an alpha.
He's alpha.
An effective leader is sensitive to the needs of others. And no, not in a snowflake way, but an authentic way. Leadership is communication, understanding people's strengths and weaknesses, respecting other people's boundaries, as well as enforcing your own. It is from these qualities that real success emerges. If any man behaved the way Andrew Tate does, outside of the internet, no one would want anything to do with him. Red pill philosophy is also ideologically inconsistent. Advocates of the red pill will argue that the sexual revolution of the 60s degenerated society into permissiveness. The solution? Having a more traditional lifestyle. To be fair, I think there is something to valuing modesty, leaving room for the imagination, and valuing a person for more than just banging them.
Chilling with clueless women, you tryna bang, bumping new edition. Is that all you think life really is?
Getting one's act together, and the pursuit of having a family. But then these same advocates of the red pill will also claim that if a man is high status, it is acceptable for them to cheat.
So you think all guys cheat?
Every guy cheats. Every guy wants to cheat at least. No guy is naturally monogamous.
The sad truth is that Andrew Tate and his ilk are profiting off of the insecurity of young men. The key to every successful business is creating a need. Insecure with your position in life? Join my affiliate marketing program. Take my course. You'll make tons of cash. And finally, that hot girl in your math class will think you're attractive. Jordan Belfort could have just as easily claimed, everyone wants to get laid, and everyone wants to get laid quick. In a capitalistic society, everyone wants to make money. The idea that making money and chasing status is radically outside of the matrix is absurd.
It's all about bucks, kid. The rest is conversation.
But what about the court system? That screws over men. No doubt, custody and alimony are unfair under the current system. Some feminists even share this sentiment as well. The unfairness of today's legal system exists because there is an incongruence of values. Culturally, we are very individualistic as Americans, and yet we still have outdated laws resembling an early 20th century view of the family. However, you are not a victim. We live in a world of choice. You can do research to protect yourself and your assets. Research how marriage laws work. Get a lawyer. And most importantly, you can think long and hard about who you'd like to marry in the first place. True, half of all marriages end in divorce, but the majority of people are retards, so you should actually find that statistic encouraging. Let's talk about dating apps. I hate dating apps. In fact, I hate them so much that if I were Earth's global dictator, I would have the heads of all of these big tech companies subject to a punishment so cruel and so unusual and so twisted that I would get banned from every platform on social media for even saying it out loud. Personally, I would love nothing more than to just cruise back to the 1980s and just fucking stay there. But unfortunately, time is just a mental construct. So we have to deal with the cards we were dealt. If your red pill perspective is coming from frustration with dating apps, you're not alone. You set up a profile, write a little bit about yourself, all set to go. I'm ready to get some dates and find the love of my life. Swiping, swiping, swiping. Got a match. I wonder if it'll be a date. Ghosted. Swiping, swiping, swiping. Ghosted. Another match. Didn't show up. Swiping, swiping, swiping. Rinse and repeat. Dating apps are fucking useless.
Bullshit. That's how I feel. Total fucking bullshit.
They don't highlight your best traits, or even match you with someone you'd actually be a good fit for. They are superficial. Even if you make the most interesting profile, you are still judged based on your looks. When meeting someone in person, you are still judged to some degree on your appearance, but also how you behave. Dating apps are a failure because they can never capture your greatest trait, your presence. A dating app can never show you how someone treats other people, what their friends are like, their eccentricities, what a life with them would actually be like. Turns out my grandfather was right. The phones are fucking everybody up.
Don't you understand? Nobody cares about all the trials and tribulations of your fucking weak cunt lives. Don't you understand that? What the fuck do I have to do here?
Is the red pill a pipeline to far-right ideology? It is fair to say that most figures in the red pill have some kind of right-wing ideology or sympathy. I haven't seen many fruitcakes with dyed hair or soy boys that espouse a red pill philosophy. Let's just say, as someone who wasn't always as open-minded as I am today, I understand their sense of alienation. This collective resentment can be used to rally young men into mindsets that are not the healthiest. However, I don't believe that most red pill advocates lash their problems out on ethnic minorities. Most are dissatisfied with their position in life and wish to improve their attractiveness physically, financially, and even spiritually for some. Although the red pill is racially diverse, it is no stranger to groupthink. Another reason the red pill is in fact still a part of society's matrix is that it is tribal. It views people who subscribe to its perspective as red-pilled, and those who do not as blue-pilled. This way of looking at the world is limiting, and not as seductive as being open-minded. Open-mindedness is seductive because you're able to learn from and have experiences with people of all backgrounds and perspectives. For people who claim to be about self-improvement, how many of these red pill figures actually give men the social skills they need in the real world instead of complaining about society?
You know, if you're a woman who has trouble with men, or you're a man who has trouble with women, it's not the women and it's not the men, it's you.
Now that we've challenged some of the red pill philosophy, I don't want you to leave this video feeling like shit, unlike some people. At Focus Shift, we are about practical solutions to issues, as opposed to milking them for all they are worth with doom porn. So who am I to speak authoritatively on this? I am not a pickup artist with a huge leg count. My social life was non-existent in high school, and mediocre at best in college. So why should you even bother listening to me? In 2019, I decided to consciously put myself out there, find other people who have the same interests, and perhaps go on a date or two along the way. With 3.5 years of experience of putting myself out there, here are a few things that I've learned that could be of use for you in your journey. Many of these insights came from two of my favorite books on this subject, Models by Mark Manson and The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. In 2021, I was ghosted by a girl I liked. I know, big fucking deal. Happens to all of us at some point. I really like this one though. We seem to have everything in common. She was beautiful, almost vampiric looking, a talented artist with the same passion for spirituality I had. And then I was ghosted. Afterwards, I gave Models by Mark Manson a read. The first few chapters were a tough pill to swallow, because I had to confront my neediness and clinging to outcomes. I was deluded and caught in fantasies when there wasn't even a there. I was investing way too much mental energy and not putting myself out there enough. My obsession was directed at a specific person, and not the process of creating a social life in itself. If you're interested, I speak at length about models in the last portion of my documentary, Why is Dating So Difficult? A year later, I read Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. The Laws of Human Nature taught me how to escape being stuck in your head and how to use important social cues to see what people are thinking and their intentions. I'm not an extroverted person by nature, but The Laws of Human Nature shows that you don't have to be the most extroverted person in the room to have a social life. By being observant, highly aware, and paying close attention when people speak, you can be even more seductive than the conventional alpha. People are self-absorbed. It's rare for someone to give them this kind of attention, so being attentive puts you in a valuable position. The red pill typically looks at trends and statistics in society and uses this data to confirm its assumptions about the dating process. Statistically, you could argue that more people in our generation are depressed and anxious than their parents or grandparents, and that it's society's fault. Society is wrong about a lot of things, but it also provides a degree of infrastructure, safety, and security, which creates a lot of opportunity for you. You can begin to ask yourself, is it society's fault that I don't have a relationship, or is it my schedule? Hint, hint, it's not entirely the former. How much effort are you putting in to meeting people, and in the right kinds of environments? How often are you going out, to a coffee shop, a bookstore, bars, art galleries, the gym, yoga class, etc.? Find shit you're into, where you can meet other people like yourself. You'll find a place, and by going there often enough, you'll meet more people, and find another place, and more people, and another place, and another, and another. Before you know it, you'll be planning your week and find yourself overwhelmed with cool shit to do. I can't put enough emphasis on being in the right environment. If going out clubbing isn't your thing, don't go out clubbing. Find people who value arts and books. Finding a place you'd like to be in will do most of the work for you. Who knows, maybe you'll find someone who can list their top 5 nonfiction reads. So if I don't need the 666s, the 6-figure salary, 6-pack abs, and 6 feet height, what will actually help? Here I'm going to share some skills that have helped me in my 3.5-year journey. The first being dancing. Dancing is useful because it shows you have good energy and are well coordinated. It is also a smooth transition to establishing respectful physical contact. A dance class can also be a great way to meet people as an end in itself. A lot of guys have an aversion to dancing in an expressive manner for fear of embarrassing themselves. However, if you seem like you're having a good time, it doesn't matter. Next skill is having interests, aside from politics, gaming, obscure internet niches, and comparing your jaw shape on forums. An obstacle that many guys find is that they don't know how to relate to women because they don't know what to talk about. This is where applying a fraction of that tism to a broad variety of things can come in handy. So what are some interests that will land you in places that aren't total sausage fests? Shows of local bands can be a good way to talk about music and find new music. Art classes and events are a good way to meet creative people. A cause you care about, volunteering, and being open-minded to new experiences. The more experiences you have, the more you'll be able to actually relate to other people. On the subject of open-mindedness, as mentioned earlier, this is a seductive trait. An issue raised by social media is that people are fed content to their ideological preferences, which could explain some of the trends of divisiveness and hostility we see across the political spectrum. But that's for another video. With this interneted mind, it becomes easy to select for superficial things and mistake them as life or death, such as, she needs to be at least an 8 out of 10, a libertarian but still has traditional values, who listens to melodic death metal, and has beaten Resident Evil Code Veronica with no walkthroughs. This limits your option to about 5 out of 4 billion women on planet Earth. This is where dating apps are a screw. It limits people down to superficial traits. However, when meeting people in person, through real life, God's greatest RPG, this gives you the opportunity to discover new things that you may have never even considered before. When people have a different philosophy or perspective on something, it's more seductive to be curious about their point of view. You don't have to have every little thing in common or agree on every little issue in world politics to be a good fit. In fact, it can be of great value.
I don't want anyone just like me. I already have me. I want someone different. I want someone I can learn from, someone with different interests that I could grow into. So, not that I've ever used a dating app, but if I had a dating app, I would look for someone who is just really different.
Another insight I learned from Manson's models are that looks and status don't matter as much as behavior. Status matters, but status is relative depending on the demographic you're in. In fact, in some of the circles I've been in, such as the hippy-dippy spiritual circles, Men compete for who is the most vulnerable, which I will admit can get a bit cringe at times, even for an artsy fruitcake like myself. Now don't get me wrong, your behavior is not easy to change, but it's not nearly as difficult as you think if you pay attention. So what does being a good listener mean? Being a good listener is more than just shutting up, but absorbing what the other person has to say. Typically, we think of what we are going to say next while someone is speaking. When someone is speaking, there is tons of useful information about their perspective, how they see the world, what motivates them, and what they value. You can even keep a journal of your interactions to keep track of this. Perhaps you've been in social situations where you're in a group and everyone's talking about something you think is boring, like sports. You may have no knowledge of sports at all, but you can still ask questions about how it works. You don't have to be a know-it-all all of the time. You may not even have interest in sports, but it's not about having interest in sports, or Taylor Swift, or whatever the hell the normies are into, but having interest in the person that is speaking. Another source of social anxiety is the fear that we will say something cringy. When we say something cringy, it's usually because of lack of awareness to social cues, facial expressions, the environment we're in, etc. On the subject of awareness, this brings us to our next skill. Here I'll add some spiritual perspective on this process. And for all you secular-minded types, it's okay. You don't have to get the sage or crystals out for this one. You will find this useful no matter what your belief system may be. As many in the red pill community point out, the pace of the modern world today is incredibly fast. We become accustomed and complacent to instant gratification. We get rejected and feel a surge of emotion. This is, of course, painful to deal with, and so it is much easier to spend thousands of hours playing COD or listen to some figure blaming our problems on society or the opposite sex. However, what doesn't occur to us is the value of feeling these sensations as they arise. This is in fact very common during meditation and can be a great practice for looking inward. By having this sense of awareness, validation starts to arise internally, regardless of any external outcome. As the Buddha pointed out, the cause of our suffering is often mental. However, you don't have to wear robes and live on a mountain to get the benefits of these practices. If meditation isn't your thing, you can still achieve similar states by hikes, journaling, going out for runs, or reading the works of Robert Greene in a coffee shop. Who knows, you might meet a smart cutie pie while waiting in line. These skills are valuable for all kinds of relationships, but will transfer into your professional life as well. Figures like Tate and the hosts of Fresh and Fit will say that in order to be attractive, you need to acquire money, power, and physical fitness first. However, this work-life divide is a false dichotomy. By acquiring these skills in your social life, they will benefit in your career as well. In the pursuit of going out and trying to meet women, I've also met people that would lead to 2 music projects I'm currently a part of. Let's start at the noob level, to put it in gaming terms. Go out once a week to a coffee shop, a bookstore, local show, etc. No need to interact with anyone. Just go out once a week for a month or so and see what happens. If you're having a bad time, you can always go home after an hour or so. This is mostly to get comfortable with the habit of going out and making it a priority as part of your schedule. Normal difficulty. So you're starting to go out once a week, so now go out 2 or 3 times a week. Interact with new people. Go up to strangers and start a conversation, of any gender. If it goes well, you can say, "I enjoyed talking to you. What's the best way to reach you?" When you go out often enough, you'll start to get recognized as a regular, and it will start to get easier to meet more and more people over time. I'll be honest, I haven't even gotten to this point yet, but the challenge is there for those who are up to it. Go out 4 or 5 times a week and meet as many people as possible. Try to get to know everyone in the room. Stay the whole night, no matter what. You never know who you'll meet. You may even get invited to an after party. Going through these challenges will improve your odds of meeting someone, but in life, there are no guarantees. Lastly, there is no formula to dating. To my fellow Zoomers who are so used to instant gratification, there is no shortcut to having a successful romantic life. The saying, "all is fair in love and war," rings true. Nothing will prevent you from feeling pain, rejection, sadness, and loneliness. All of this is par for the course. Paradoxically, this is actually a sign that you're putting energy into your social and romantic life. You will have terrible nights. You will experience rejection dozens of times before going out for one date. You will experience envy and jealousy. You will get in a relationship, break up, and long for your ex years later. These are all normal human emotions and experiences that we repress in the materialistic, superficial world we inhabit today. No figure will save you the pain of this process of self-discovery, not even someone as cool as me. I'll end this by paying a little homage to Navy SEAL Jocko Willink. Got rejected? Good. They weren't a good fit anyways. Got stood up? Good. They won't waste any more of your time. Feeling alone? Good. Put yourself out there and connect with others.